Hello, and welcome to Narrative-Driven Fashion Design. Today we're going to go through, using an example, a process where we can jumpstart design through developing a story and then furnishing that story. So, narrative-driven fashion design, storytelling through design. Like with any other design project, it all starts with a brief. Now here's the sample one that we'll be using. Design a range of garments for a 40-year-old to 55-year-old male to wear whilst not in work. Your range must be sustainable and adhere to the brand ethics of Timberland. Now, the first thing that we do with any design project is we unpack the brief, and that means breaking it apart into its distinct areas. Firstly, we look at definitions. So what parts of the brief do we really have to define for us to fully understand it? Secondly, we look at parameters. What are the boundaries of the brief that we must push against? Thirdly, we look at specifications. What things is the brief specifically asking us that we can't change? And lastly, we look at scope for creativity. Where can we maximize our creativity within this brief? And you can see there's lots of overlap between all of these different things. And that allows us to fully understand the brief and maximize innovation. Now, the first step to developing a narrative is to brainstorm. Ask yourself a bunch of questions. What kind of garments? What is the brand identity? What does this person need to carry? What ethics are we looking at? What sustainable processes will we explore? What kind of male are we looking at? What design processes are we after? But lastly, and most importantly, how do we make this fun for us? Now, the first thing that I would suggest you look at when developing a narrative is to make it real. So start with some primary research. Talk to real people. Here's one. This man is named David. He's a doctor and also an army officer. He's married, he likes fitness, he eats healthily, he likes tech, and he has lots of gadgets. The next person I spoke to is Clint. Clint's a managing director of a creative agency. He likes fashion, he makes music, he loves business, and he owns a donut shop. And lastly is Daryl. He's about 50, he's Santa, he has a black belt, he helps the community, and he loves his wife Sue. Now you can see we've explored a diverse group of people in our primary research. To help fill those gaps and to help build our research resource that we're going to draw from, it's important to do some secondary research also. This is just some quick Googling to get a bit of an idea. What do 50-year-olds do for fun? Do 50-year-old men use Twitter? What do 45-year-old men carry every day? What do 45-year-old men do for fun, for anything? Do 50-year-old men use Tinder? We'll see. Now, from all that research, we're going to develop a loose narrative to gather some big ideas. And here's a few that I've chosen from my research. Someone who's going through a midlife crisis, someone who's an extinction rebel who feels strong about sustainability, someone who's a bit of a creep, someone who's a zombie apocalypse survivor. Now, once we've got some loose narrative, it's important that we give it a personality. Now, you can just randomly find an image, or you can use a muse, or you can find a person from your primary research. I've just randomly searched middle-aged male on Instagram, and here we go. This is our guy. Now, then I used that research to put together a mood board. And this is the kind of mood board that I'm going for here. The kind of zombie apocalypse survivor is the vibe that I chose. And this gives me a kind of general mood for a 50-year-old zombie apocalypse survivor. You can see that we've got some equipment there. We've got like a big car. We've got here, we've looked at extremes. We've looked at some very high-tech zombie apocalypse survival stuff. And here we looked at some very low-tech zombie apocalypse stuff. We looked at some precedents here in the work of Lucy Orta. We've looked at some wearable shelters designed by fashion students, just to give me a mood of what we're looking for. Secondly, I've developed a brand board, and I kind of explored this idea of what Timberland might be looking for in a zombie apocalypse survivor, in that kind of situation. Really functional garments produced by that company. And we have our M65 jacket here, our classic boots here, lots of pockets, lots of layers, all that kind of stuff. And then lastly, we've gone for a concept board. Now, a concept board is slightly different, say, a mood board. The concept board is where we draw aesthetic inspiration, so to kind of explore and to build our concepts pushing off from our mood. And I've looked here some Hollywood imagery from the movie The Road, from TV show The Walking Dead. We've looked at military contractors here and the clothes that they wear. Some tactical garments here in this shirt and these trousers over here. Some historic imagery and a picture from the Vietnam War. And then some more work by Lucy Orta, the wonderful designer and artist. Now, once we've got all that together, we're going to build our character a bit more. So this is our guy. So this is all made up based on the research that I've done. So this is Gary. He was an HR manager. Now he runs a coffee shop. He's a bit of a creep, but he likes camping. And he makes stuff out of found materials. That's important for us to help generate designs. He shops twice a year and spends a lot on a few items, so his garments have to last him a long time. But poor old Gary doesn't believe in climate change. That's a bit of a shame. Now you can see that gives us something to work with here, some substance, some things to design against. Now, of course, we can't just have a character, we have to have a context. Where does the character live? What do they do? What scenario are they involved in? So here's what we're looking at. So we're looking at a world of post-climate change, a world where there are weather extremes. Now these are current issues that are going on right now, so it helps to make things real. There's a minimal transport available to this person. There's scarcity in raw materials because of climate change. Natural resources are running out. And the worst is still happening. Love Island is still on. So then we do some further research. So we support our assumptions with evidence and look for available materials. So researching by watching some fashion documentaries, by exploring different materials that are available. We play physically, make stuff, it's so important. We research, so we look at imagery in different contexts. These are from photos taken a few months apart, one on fire, one in flood. We ask people, talk to more people, go back to that primary research, talk to new people. You can do it via social media. Everybody's at home. And then from that, we develop our tight narrative. So we make our narrative tighter. And here's a little story that I've written about Gary. Gary doesn't believe in climate change until he can no longer afford his coffee shipments. The growing season is shorter and the area for growing is smaller than ever before. Not that it really matters. Nobody has any money for luxuries like coffee, and cars aren't really producing any milk. That, combined with a constant fire and floods, has made this city impossible to live in. Gary is now a climate refugee and must travel to find a new place to live and work. So from that, we can go even further and develop our character. So where's he going to go as a climate refugee? What does he need to take with him now? How does he carry all this stuff? How long is it supposed to last? How long is the journey? What if it needs to be repaired along his journey? What techniques can we use that maybe Gary can engage in? What do the garments, what do the objects that he takes say about Gary? Now, that allows us to push against this. It really gives us some impetus for design and to produce some product. So then, the simplest way I've found to help use narrative to drive a brief is to recontextualize the brief. So you can see here's our original brief, and here's the new brief. It's exactly the same, except I've replaced a few sections of it. Design a range of garments for Gary to wear whilst fleeing to his new home. Your range must be sustainable and adhere to the brand ethics of Timberland. So then we jump back into the research process. So we, through primary and secondary research, to identify some gaps. So some secondary research, looking at climate refugees, looking at micro seasons on fashion, and then collecting some primary research of the kind of clothes people wear when they're on long journeys. Thank you very much for listening. The next step is for us to develop our concepts, and you can look at that in part 2 of this video.